Commander Zephyx of the Galactic Coalition adjusted his breathing apparatus as he reviewed the intelligence reports from the newly discovered planet designated as Earth. The biological scans showed a species called humans, bipedal, carbon-based with no natural armor, claws, or venomous capabilities. Their technology was primitive by galactic standards, barely achieving faster-than-light communication. Pathetic, muttered Sub-Commander Vorthak, his 6 arms clicking dismissively. They can't even manipulate gravitational fields. How did such a weak species survive long enough to develop spaceflight? The Xerillian delegation had been particularly vocal about humanity's apparent frailty. Standing nearly 3 meters tall with crystalline exoskeletons, they considered themselves the pinnacle of evolution. Look at their bone density, Crystalline Ambassador Theiss had noted during the briefing. It's unnecessarily thick for a species with such limited physical capabilities. The Coalition had protocols for integrating new species. Typically, weaker civilizations were offered protection in exchange for resources or specialized knowledge. Earth seemed to fit this category perfectly, until the first diplomatic mission landed on the planet's surface. Zephyx remembered the moment his transport touched down in what humans called New York City. The artificial gravity generators in Coalition vessels maintained a standard 0.6 G across all member worlds, ensuring comfortable travel for the various species. When the airlock opened and Zephyx took his first step onto Earth's surface, his legs nearly buckled. The gravity was crushing. A full 1.0 G, nearly double what most Coalition species considered habitable. Within minutes, Zephyx's respiratory system was straining. His bones, evolved in the low-gravity environment of his homeworld, ached under the relentless pull. He gasped into his communicator. How do they function in this? The human delegation waiting to greet them seemed completely unbothered. Ambassador Sarah Chen stood casually, her posture relaxed despite the oppressive gravitational field that was slowly crushing the visiting aliens. She smiled warmly as the Coalition representative struggled to remain upright. "Welcome to Earth," she said, her voice steady and strong. "I trust the gravity isn't too uncomfortable?" Sub-Commander Vorthak, who prided himself on his superior strength, was using all 6 arms just to support his body weight. The crystalline beings were faring even worse. Their towering frames were never designed for such intense gravitational stress. One of them had already fallen to his knees, his exoskeleton creaking ominously. "Perhaps," Ambassador Chen suggested gently, "we should move to our prepared facility. It's equipped with adjustable gravity fields for your comfort." The revelation struck the Coalition delegates like a thunderbolt. These humans weren't weak. They were living and thriving in conditions that would kill most galactic species within hours. Every step they took, every movement they made was performed under a gravitational load that represented a crushing burden to the rest of the galaxy. As they were escorted to the diplomatic facility, Zephyx observed the humans more carefully. Their unnecessarily thick bone density wasn't a biological inefficiency. It was an adaptation to their world's extreme conditions. Their muscular development, which had seemed modest in the biological scans, was actually extraordinary when considered in context. A human child ran past the delegation, laughing as she chased a ball. The Xerillian ambassador watched in amazement as the small being effortlessly performed movements that would require mechanical assistance for most adult Coalition species. "Your world," Zephyx managed to say between labored breaths. "It's like living inside a gravitational weapon." Ambassador Chen's expression grew thoughtful. "We've never considered it that way. This is simply home to us." The implications were staggering. If humans were this physically capable in their natural environment, what would they be like in standard galactic conditions? Coalition military analysts had focused on humanity's primitive weapons and lack of energy shields, completely missing the fact that every human was essentially a gravity-adapted super soldier. During the negotiations held in a comfortable 0.6 G environment, the humans demonstrated their true capabilities. Ambassador Chen moved with a fluid grace that seemed almost supernatural. When she gestured, there was an economy of motion that spoke of incredible strength held in perfect control. "We're honored by your offer of protection," Chen said diplomatically, "but we believe we can contribute more as equals than as a protected species." To demonstrate their point, the humans had arranged a series of cultural exchanges. Coalition delegates watched in stunned silence as human athletes performed feats that defied belief. A human martial artist moved with speed and power that would require cybernetic enhancement in any other species. The final revelation came when Ambassador Chen offered to show them Earth's military capabilities. Not weapons or starships, but training exercises. Coalition observers watched human soldiers carrying equipment loads that would crush most aliens, moving across terrain that would be impassable to standard galactic forces. "Your entire species," whispered Sub-Commander Vorthak in awe. "You're all living in what we would consider a high-gravity death world." "And thriving," Chen replied with quiet pride. The Coalition's assessment changed overnight. Humanity wasn't a weak species in need of protection. They were potential allies of unprecedented physical capability. Their primitive status was merely a result of their youth as a spacefaring civilization, not any fundamental limitation. When the diplomatic mission returned to Coalition space, their report sent shockwaves through the galactic community. Military strategists revised their assessments, xenobiologists rewrote their classifications, and political analysts began treating Earth as an emerging power rather than a primitive backwater. Commander Zefik submitted his final report with a new understanding. Humans weren't weak because they lacked natural weapons or energy manipulation abilities. They were strong precisely because they had learned to thrive in conditions that would destroy most other life forms. The galaxy had underestimated humanity, assuming that survival required either technological supremacy or biological weapons. They had failed to consider the simple, terrible strength that came from being forged in the crucible of a high-gravity world. As the Coalition fleet departed Earth's system, Zefix found himself grateful that humanity seemed inclined toward peaceful cooperation. A species that considered 1.0G a comfortable living environment was not one that any sane civilization would want as an enemy. The universe had just become a much more interesting place.